Yo, what's poppin'? Hey, welcome back to the channel. Super thrilled you tuned in today, and I must say you're not looking bad yourself, you're looking good, okay? Welcome back. If this is your first time, hi, I'm Chidera Peters, and I would like us to be friends, okay? Thank you for the feedback on my previous videos. It's been doing really well, and also I've been reading all the really thoughtful comments telling me yes, I should keep this series going. But I'm just so glad that you're enjoying this whole series on marriage, because I'm like, my channel content is changing. You know, it's been cringy testing out this new content type that I'm on, but yeah, it's been going fine, so thank you so much. Also, one thing I want to say here is I'm creating a separate channel for academic help stuff, student help stuff. So basically the channel is the CP community, so it's in the description box below. If you could help me subscribe to that channel, that would be great. That would be the channel where I post everything student related, because I still have a lot of content in that area as well, while this one will be more about my life and living and just, you know, being myself on this channel. So make sure to subscribe to that one, please. Okay, so in this video I'm basically going to be talking about questions to ask before you get married. Not necessarily before you get married, just questions to ask if you're in a serious relationship. And the reason why I decided to put this video together is that when you're dating and you're in love, you don't always ask the right questions because you feel like this person is perfect, and you tend to overlook a lot of things. It's important that you ask these questions so you begin to know the things that are your deal breakers and the things that you can actually cope with. Enough yappa. Let's get started. So some of the questions I'm going to be mentioning in this video, I actually have a book titled Questions You Should Ask Before You Say I Do. It's part of the wedding planning bundle that have been selling for a while now and has sold over 150 copies. After watching this video, you might want to get a copy of that book because it has several question prompts that you and your partner could just go through at your spare time and, you know, answer these questions. Because this video is a guide, but the book is more specific. It's like specific questions prompts to ask. So make sure to get a couple of the book. All links are in the description box below. Okay, sorry, let me stop talking. Let's start. So before you say I do, one of the really important things that you need to know is this person's medical history. Okay, I want to start with this because it's the most important. This is the one that you can't even compromise on. Okay, so you need to know this person's medical history, including like their genotype, their maybe if they have any illnesses they are treating at the moment, stuff like that. You want to ensure you ask these questions, because if your genotype is not compatible, please just end it. Okay, just end it, because if you ask people who are sickle cell warriors, they'll tell you that it's not easy living life that way. So if you have the opportunity to choose not to do that, please consider your genotype. You ask questions about the person's health. Do they have maybe diabetes? You know, anything like that, like all these illnesses that are just managed, you might want to ask just so you know. Make sure you ask. I feel like it's important that you don't assume. So for example, in my case, it's Jesus that actually saved us. I asked, but we did not do like, how do I put it? We did not know our genotype for certain until it was very close to the wedding, and I don't advise that. So I was there assuming that me and Jason are 100% compatible, you understand? Then when we went to the lab and we did the test, I was like, yeah, we're all good, but let's just do it for formality's sake. Imagine my life, formality's sake. So when the results came out, apparently we're not like 100% compatible, but we're okay. Just that it's not like any of us is a sickle cell carrier or anything, but still we're not like 100% compatible. Do you get my point? I can't go into details on that, but point is, make sure you do ask these questions about the person's medical history and genotype. The second thing you should make sure you guys talk about is finances. See, I cannot stress this enough. It's important that you know what each of you is bringing to the table, okay? How much does this person earn? How much do you earn? If you live together, how are you going to manage your money? See, don't assume when it comes to money. Make sure you ask these questions, okay? So if you get married, you want to have a joint account where maybe both of you will put money into that account. And if you're putting money into that account, how do you determine what percentage of each person's income goes into that account? Do you understand? Is it that, the person who earns higher is going to put more into that account, or the person who earns less is going to put less into that account? You need to actually figure this out. And if you don't want to have a joint account, okay, how would you manage household expenses? Who is going to be the primary financial provider in the house. Okay, what about in instances where one of you is unemployed? How do you manage your finances? A lot of people don't want to think about worst case scenario, but you need to think about what's worst case scenario if you want to live with a person for life. You need to imagine everything that can go wrong to the best of your imagination and try to talk about it, especially when it comes to finances. Okay, who will be paying the house rent, feeding expenses? Who is going to cover that? Is it going to be the woman? Is it going to be the man? Is it going to be both of you? You need to have proper discussions about your finances, especially if you'll be living in the UK. I feel like down in Nigeria, for example, it's easy or it's a general consensus somehow that the man will provide more. And I feel like, honestly, living in Nigeria, I can see that it might be possible for the man to provide for like maybe the heavy end things like the rent, because you pay the rent once a year, innit? But for example, if you're living in the UK, you're paying rent on a monthly basis and you're paying bills on a monthly basis. So you might see, anywhere you live, you need to have discussions about finances, okay? So make sure you do that. Sorry to interrupt your video, but I need to place ads every now and then so I can make money and so I'm not going to live on the streets. This video is brought to you by Lemonade Finance, an app that I and my friends used to send money down to Africa. With Lemonade Finance, you can send money to Ghana, Kenya, or Nigeria from the UK or Canada in a matter of minutes. There are no transaction fees and they have one of the best rates on the market. I can tell you this for sure because I have been using Lemonade Finance for months now. It's the app that I use. It is free to use, zero transaction fee, so definitely check out Lemonade Finance. To get you started, if you download Lemonade Finance, use my code CHIDERA when signing up to get 10% cash back, but it is capped at £50. So if you send £100, you get £10 cash back. If you send £200, you get £20 cash back. If you send £300, you get £30 cash back. Okay, so make sure to start sending money down home, send to your loved ones in Africa. You can download the app via the link in the description box below and use the code CHIDERA for 10% cash back. This is me giving you free money, so you're welcome. All right, let's get back to the video. Another important thing that I feel you should talk about before you get married or if you're in a serious relationship is, where would we live? Don't assume. The person you might want to get married to might be having plans to relocate out of the state or the location they're in after a couple maybe years, or maybe after marrying they want to relocate, stuff like that. So you need to ask, where are we going to live? Where are we going to build our family? Especially if you're in like an internationality marriage. You get my point? For example, me, I'm Nigerian, my husband is Ghanaian, but we're in the UK, right? So we needed to have that discussion. Are we going to set up in Nigeria, or are we going to set up in Ghana? Are we going to set up in the UK? Where is going to be the best place for us to start building a family from? So you need to have that discussion, even if yours is not like regarding different countries, it might be regarding different states in Nigeria. So for example, if you're in a long distance relationship and maybe the woman is earning more than the man or the man is earning more, like you might want to relocate to the place where the person who is earning more is staying in. Do you get my point? So basically just discuss relocation, who is going to move and where are you going to live. Important, okay? Another important thing that I feel you need to discuss is sexual expectations. Okay? You need to talk about it. It's very important that you are open with each other. For example, if you're already engaged and you're sure that marriage is on the horizon, it's important that you talk about like your sexual expectations. What do you expect? How often do you expect your people to have sex? What exactly, for you, what does intimate entail in this context? Like, must we always get to that point for it to be intimacy, or for you, maybe cuddling and all of that, it does it for you? Stuff like that, you need to talk about your sexual expectations. And also, I feel like it's even more important when one of you has a sexual history already. So if any of you has a sexual history, that person particularly should tell the other their sexual expectations. Okay, it's really important because this person who has sexual history definitely has more sexual experience than the one who doesn't. So it's important that that person communicates to the other person what the sexual expectations are. And also you need to talk about boundaries regarding sexual expectations. So when your partner says, this is what I want, Are you comfortable doing that? If you're not comfortable doing whatever they are saying, you let them know up front, so you don't get into marriage and your partner becomes frustrated because they're like, oh, I thought you're going to be doing this for me. Oh, I thought you're going to be doing that for me. Chale, talk about it now. Ask about the sexual expectations and know what your deal breakers are. Know that if you can't do that, like, I'm never going to do this. I can't see myself doing it. Talk about it. Okay, all right. The next thing which kind of ties into sexual expectations, you need to talk about children. Okay, see, if it's up to me, all married couples should not be burning anymore, because the world is full and we are going through climate change and global warming, and there's hunger, there's world hunger. So, and there's so many people that are homeless and don't have families. So if it's up to me, every married person should go and carry a child from the world. You get my point? But yeah, you talk about children. Do you desire children? If you don't desire children, you need to say it up front. It's not when you marry person, you come and tell person, me, I don't have children. You need to discuss it up front, because for some people, one of the main reasons why they want to get married is to have children and have that, like, family kind of thing. So you need to discuss it. Do you want children? And if you want children, when do you want to have children? How do you want to space these children? How many children do you want to have? Okay, do you want to try getting pregnant immediately after you get married? Do you want to try getting pregnant 2 years after, 3 years after? Okay, if you have the first child, how would you space these children? You talk about all these things. Don't assume. Talk about all these things. Now, the next thing which ties into children and all of that is whose career takes precedence. So in an instance where you people have a child, who is going to be the primary caregiver to that child? I know that by our biological setup, it seems more like it's the woman that has to be the primary care provider. But then we know that we're in a very modern society, and it doesn't have to be that way. So the man might actually be the primary care provider, especially if the woman has a job that is more high end, brings in more money, and the man doesn't. My point is, you just have to know and do what works for you and your situation, but it's important to talk about it, okay? So if we have children, who is going to be the primary care provider? Whose career will take precedence? Who is going to take a step back? Because children are tasking. I've not had a child, but I know people that have children, and I've seen experiences of different people. One thing parents will tell you for sure is that children change a lot of things. So one person would have to be more hands-on, or maybe you would have to rotate it. So it's like, oh, you are going to maybe be more hands-on now, then after then I'll become more hands-on, stuff like that. But you need to discuss whose career will take precedence if children come into the picture. Another important thing you need to talk about is love language. I don't know if you've read the book, but if you've not, please read the book Love Languages by Gary Chapman. It's a very simple book to read. The 5 love languages. It's important that you and your partner discuss your love languages and know each other's love languages, because you might be loving this person and doing things for them without actually meeting their primary need. So you need to know, if your partner likes gifts, you need to buy gifts for them every now and then. If your partner is words of affirmation is top on their list, you want to ensure you're always speaking life to them, stuff like that. If it's touch, physical touch, you want to hold hands on the street, you want to hug each other every now and then, you want to rub their head, you want to just touch them, you understand? So you need to be able to meet their love needs. So you definitely need to have this conversation about love languages, okay? So another important thing you need to discuss, which you might think is a no-brainer, but actually it is the matter of fidelity. So you need to ask your partner, what do you consider as infidelity? Because I have seen things, I have heard things, I have read things. You would think that what you consider infidelity will be what every other person considers infidelity, but it is not, okay? So you need to ask your partner, does looking at the opposite sex count as cheating? You need to ask. Or looking at them in an attractive manner, would you consider cheating? Or if I lust after, you understand? You need to just discuss, if I lust after them just by looking at them, would you consider that cheating? How do you expect me to relate with members of the opposite sex? Can I do a full frontal hug, or do I have to do the Christian side-to-side hug with people of the opposite sex? You need to discuss this, all right? You need to ask, is a peck on the cheek cheating for you? Do you consider it cheating, or is it fine? And then for some people, you even need to ask, is kissing the opposite sex on the lips cheating or not? Like, don't assume you feel like, oh, your partner would know exactly what cheating is and what cheating is not. Please make sure you ask these questions. And then there are some people as well who would not want their partners liking pictures of the opposite sex on social media. I know it's somehow, but people are different, so it's important that you talk about these things, okay? Because for some people, they actually consider it disrespectful to be doing that. So for example, a guy who is on social media just following hot ladies and liking all their pictures on Instagram, that might come across as disrespectful to your partner. So you need to discuss these things. What exactly counts as cheating, and where exactly do we draw the line? What is infidelity for you? Talk about it. Another important thing you need to talk about is help and guidance. So you need to ask your partner, if we have a rough time in our relationship, or if we're going through a rough time in our marriage, would you be open to seeking counseling and therapy? Now, it's important that you ask this thing, because I, for one, know that there was a time in my life when I felt like, who need therapy? What is therapy? People, when they go therapy, they don't get problem. If you are going through issue, you will not have time to go and sit down and talking to somebody about your problems like that. You go and solve the problems. Do you understand? Like, you go out there and solve the problems. So yeah, there was a time I was opposed to therapy and counseling. I'm like, everything be done. It's just, I felt like it was some rich people thing, you know, but it's not. So you need to really ask your partner if they would be open to seeking counseling and therapy should you need that. Or if you don't need therapy, for example, who is the person that you guys would be reporting to when you have major issues that you actually need expert guidance on, or someone who has more expertise or experience in marriage? But it's very important that you guys choose a neutral party. So you don't take your family problems to your husband's family for them to help you. You don't take your family problems to your wife's side for the family to help you. No, you will have to find someone who is neutral, who would not be biased in dealing with the issue at hand, okay? So you need to talk about that. So another important thing that you need to discuss with your partner if you're in a serious relationship is family involvement. So if you're to live together, how involved will each of your families be in your decision-making process, or in influencing the decisions you make? Like, will your families influence where you guys decide to live? Will they influence the school your children go to? What is the boundary for their influence? Like, how would you manage that? Do you understand? And also, can your family members just show up in you people's house unannounced? And if they come to your house, how long can they stay in your house at a stretch before you're like, oh, you have to leave? Or if there are certain circumstances where they can't leave, how do you manage that? You need to talk about your family's each of your family's influence in your relationship or in your marriage, okay? This also ties into holidays. You want to talk about your holidays. How would you spend your holidays? For example, I'm a Nigerian and I'm Igbo, and one thing we're known for, Igbo people in Nigeria, is that we tend to travel down to the east, to our villages, to spend Christmas with the extended family. It's like an Igbo tradition. I don't know who started it, but it's something that I grew up with my family doing. Almost every single Christmas, we travel down to the east, to the village, to spend time with our extended family. Now, so that's a tradition that I am used to. Now, Jason, on the other hand, also has the way that his family spends Christmas or spends holidays. So we've had to have that discussion of, oh, how are we going to spend Christmas? Are we going to be spending not just Christmas, Easter, every important holiday? How are we going to spend these holidays? Are we going to spend it leaning more to your family or leaning more to my family? Or are we going to find a way to blend the two traditions into one, just so both of us are fully represented? You get my point? So you need to talk about it, and also like how you spend holidays, so that nothing will shock you. Roles in marriage. If you watch my previous video, one of the things I said there is that your upbringing strongly influences your definition of maleness and femaleness. So the things you grew up seeing your mother do in the house, you feel like that's what a wife should do in the house. The things you grew up seeing your father do in the house, you feel like that's what a man should do in the house. And then when you start living with your partner, you can have conflicts just because of your expectation. You're like, oh, I thought you were going to do that. And that's because your dad always did that. So it did not cross your mind that in another family, it's possible that their own father used to do that and your father used to do. So you need to talk about your roles. Who is going to cook? Who's going to cook more? Who's going to clean more? How are you going to share your chores? How are you going to manage household tasks? You need to talk about it. Don't assume. Let me even tell you one thing you should ask. Who is going to be removing cobwebs? Who is going to be removing cobwebs in your house? It's important. Because me, in my house, growing up, I don't see cobwebs. That's me. I don't used to see cobwebs. Like, I can look everywhere and I will not see it. But my father can just enter a space and the first thing he's noticing is the cobwebs. And that's because, I don't know, he just has an eye for that. So in our house growing up, my dad always did that. Like, so I never saw my mom do it. Maybe she did, but I did not notice. But I know it was my dad's primary, one of the things he did. So living together now, one of the things I had to discuss, we had to talk about it, is like, oh, who's going to be removing cobwebs? And I mean, I'm like, it's not me, because where I come from, I know it's to remove cobwebs, my father. So you see my point, like, it's easy for you to just have this clashing expectations because of your upbringing. So you need to talk about rules. One of the things you get as a part of the wedding planning bundle is a list of household chores, so that you and your partner can discuss and then just assign who does what. Now, one thing I want to say here is that the roles are not set on stone. It's not. See, the only reason why you're having conversations about chores in the house is just so there's structure. It's just so you're going into marriage knowing what to expect, okay? So one thing I can tell you definitely, for example, the chores list that Jason and I worked through, and we're like, oh, you're going to do this, I'm going to do this, both of us are going to do this. Now that we're living together, we're realizing, oh, I might have to change some of the things because one person is more inclined to another thing than the other. But it helped us knowing that as we got into marriage, we had a structure. We knew who was supposed to do this and who was supposed to do that. And then now, as times are changing, we're going to be as well adjusting the roles that we do in the house. So you definitely want to discuss that as well. Last but not the least that you need to talk about is culture and tradition, especially if you will be marrying someone from a different culture as you. So for example, if you're Igbo going to marry a Yoruba person, you need to talk about their culture, their tradition, what is expected of you, how are you supposed to behave as a husband, how are you supposed to relate with your in-laws, stuff like that. If you're marrying from a different nationality, for example, you're Nigerian marrying a Ghanaian, you want to ask what are their cultures, what are their traditions, what do they believe in, stuff like that you need to ask. And also of importance as well is how strongly does your partner hold on to these cultures. So it's one thing for Igbo people to believe whatever they believe, right? Then it's another thing for your Igbo partner to actually hold on to those traditions, because there are people, yeah, they are from where they are and there are traditions there, but they don't uphold them. Like, they don't feel the cultures mean anything to them. They don't hold on to the traditions. They are very liberal in that sense. So you need to ask about culture and tradition and how strongly tied they are to these beliefs, okay? All right. Definitely check out the ebook in the description box below. Get the ebook if you don't want the whole bundle. You would definitely find it helpful, because this video is just like a guide, but the ebook has over 50 questions that are just like prompts, and then you and your partner can have wholesome conversations, guaranteed. I can guarantee you would have wholesome conversations and learn more about each other, okay? Okay, thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please leave a comment down below. I always read my comments. Also, don't forget to like this video, hit the subscribe button, and I think that's it. Thank you so much. Bye bye.